I actually wasn't sure this was going to happen because Dan must have gotten busy in a meeting, so I was moving forward because, as you know, on Wednesdays after the news at 1:30, usually, like 99% of the time, Dan White or one of the other experts with Dan White and Associates, they're financial planners specializing in retirement income, will give a call with a tip on Wednesdays after the news at 1:30. I made the erroneous assumption that it wasn't going to happen today because time had passed and no call was made. So is this Dan on the phone?
This is Andrew Wood.
Andrew Wood, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. So I figure you're probably late in the meeting, and that's okay. I can wait. I'm here. It's fine.
Yeah, I just wrapped up an appointment, but
and that's important.
I'm here, so
yeah, that's fine. And like I said, that's important. I was going to roll into something else, but I'm glad you're here with an important tip. Seriously, go ahead.
So I'd like to just keep people up to date on just some current things that are in the news. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Social Security. I will just point out with the recent inflation numbers.
Yeah.
It looks like next year's cost of living adjustment prediction it just keeps dropping. So at one point it was at 3%, down to 2.7. They're probably saying closer to 2.6% as a cost of living adjustment next year.
So do they measure that like year to year, like June to June, July to July, August to August, or is there another way that they measure that?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be closer to November where we're actually going to get the actual figure.
Okay, gotcha. As opposed to saying, hey, inflation is up 20% since January of 2021. They're not going to use that number, are they?
Yeah, no.
No.
But Rick, let me ask you this. What else have you heard in the news just recently about Social Security, maybe Social Security taxes? Anything?
I have not heard anyone making any declarative statement as to what they want to do to fix that. Have you?
So, no, I was actually referring to something that at least one of the candidates has mentioned. I won't say who it is, but they've talked about the idea of eliminating the taxation on Social Security benefits. Again, it's just something that was potentially being talked about. And
well, if that happens, there are going to be economists. Well, two things will happen. First of all, the other candidate will say, "Hey, I've got this idea."
Right. I wanted to go through one of the rebuttals against that. So
yes, and you're going to have a lot of government economists saying this is going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars and it's going to destroy the economy. That's right. My guess. Did I guess properly?
I mean, let's be honest here. There are a lot of people out there that are getting Social Security checks that would love to not pay taxes on their Social Security check. So it's an exciting idea. It's an exciting concept. But just as a rebuttal, what they're basically saying is that, with this whole solvency issue, if people did not have to pay taxes on the Social Security benefits, it could cause the Social Security program to go insolvent about 2 years earlier than forecast by 2033. Mm-hmm. And basically what this article is saying is that under the current law, the revenues from the taxation of Social Security benefits are earmarked for funding Social Security and Medicare benefits. Now, that's interesting to me because when it says earmarked, I don't know exactly what that means. These are just kind of terms that are thrown out there.
It means it's a number that the actuaries will be using, and they put it in their damn spreadsheets. That's what it means.
The question is, and I got to do a further dive, and I've looked into this stuff before, but it may be earmarked towards it, but is it going to the actual Social Security trust fund? So I don't really know about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. Yeah.
So, but here's the interesting thing, and we've talked about this at our some of our programs that we host, our Social Security seminars, and we talk about back in 1983 they started taxing Social Security, and they used this formula. It's called the provisional income. And back in '83, they had a 50% threshold. So if your income was below, certain thresholds, then either none of your taxes, your Social Security was taxable, up to 50% of your Social Security could be taxable, or up to 85% of your Social Security could be taxable. Now, the crazy thing about that is in 1983 they initiated it for the 50% threshold. They haven't adjusted that income threshold since then, not one time, for inflation. So what that tells me is that, that's a tax increase on seniors, and it has been going on since 1983. And then in 1993, they incorporated an 85% threshold. And again, that number hasn't gone up since 1993.
Yeah, but that's and that probably affects a lot of people. I mean, if you're making more than $34,000 in Social Security, you're taxed up to 85%, right?
Up to, yeah.
Yeah, up to.
And it's fairly complicated here, but here's one of these proposals that this person had been talking about, is instead of it just waiving it all, or maybe we look at getting those things adjusted. Now, the numbers, and this is why I wanted to bring this up today, the numbers are fascinating because they're basically saying if they were to adjust the thresholds on, for the Social Security taxation, how that works in your provisional income, is they're saying that what was the $25,000 level or $32,000 level for the 50% taxable Social Security, those numbers are closer to $77,000 and $98,000.
But you got to think about what's the bracket? The brackets. What's the tax bracket though? So let's say somebody's making 34 grand, okay? Mm-hmm. And let's say they're taxing 85% of that. But what's the tax bracket? The tax bracket's pretty low, right?
Well, so again, it depends on ordinary income taxes, but
yeah.
But in terms of the percentage of your Social Security that is subject to taxation that gets added to your ordinary income.
Yeah.
But basically what this is saying is if they were to adjust those numbers for inflation, those thresholds for inflation, I mean, you're looking at a huge it would be more of an allowance before you're actually taxed on your Social Security income. So instead of maybe eliminating the taxes on Social Security income, maybe the idea should be, if we want to meet in the middle somewhere, get those thresholds adjusted, for inflation over the last 20, 30 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I'm not going to put you on the spot because I don't think either one of us knows the number. But I am wondering, and I'm going to wonder out loud, how much revenue annually, and maybe they've got numbers for 2022 or 21, how much revenue does the federal government bring in taxing Social Security benefits? Now, I'm not talking about net. I'm talking about gross. So let's say they pay out, $1 trillion in benefits, and I'm wondering how much comes back. 100 million? I mean, okay. I have no idea. And I don't even know if you can find out. Yeah.
Well, this is this article that I was reading. It's 401k specialist, but basically what they're saying is under current law, the revenues, again, they're earmarked for funding of Social Security Medicare benefits. Over the next 10 years, Social Security trustees estimate that the Social Security trust funds would receive about $939 billion in revenues paid by Social Security recipients, representing roughly 5% of total program funding from 2024 through 2033.
Well, you do have that information. I thought, well, maybe you don't even know. Yeah, you actually came totally loaded with that. I mean, 939 billion. Oh, so it's about 94 billion a year.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. But remember, it's 5%. So I was not off too far by trillion. It's just a decimal point here and there.
It's and I'm going to just kind of end with this, but whether it's Social Security or any other government program or funding, it's look, if we're going to cut something or cut taxes, I think the question should be all right, well, how are we going to make up the difference? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because where we might add something over here, that means we got to take away something over there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's going to be gives and takes, and I think the question is, well, again, how if we were to stop taxing Social Security benefits, how would we come up with that difference? And I think that's the question that needs to be answered if before any of these proposals.
$94 billion a year. I'm glad you're thinking about this. I think you're spot on. How do you make up for $94 billion a year? Now, there is, as you like to be nonpartisan and not even mention names of candidates, and I totally get that, I understand. But there is this carbon-based life form running for this position called President of the United States, who has said, well, I'll use the pronoun they, because, want to actually find 5% savings in every department, every government department, everyone finds 5% savings. Well, you think about that. Just Social Security itself, that's $94 billion. Now, I'm not saying that they go and save money there, but you think about the defense industry and so many other of these departments where they could find that. That's what I'm thinking is the only way you're actually going to be able to cover that is you're going to have to get that 5% savings from overall spending in all these different departments in the federal government before you even start saying, okay, we're not going to tax Social Security. And good luck with that.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. I'm glad you're on top of this stuff. So, Andrew Wood, a most awesome and excellent financial planner, specializing in retirement income. You're in the Middletown branch. And by the way, if you want to talk to Andrew or anybody else with Dan White and Associates, it's 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820. I'm going to charge you anything to talk to you and go over a situation. Now, on Sunday mornings at 7, Dan White also brings you On the Money. It's at 7 o'clock in the morning, 11:50 a.m. and 101.7 FM, streaming live at WDEL.com. Anything else, Andrew?
Sunday's show is going to be the retirement challenges of peak 65 boomer women.
That sounds very specific.
It does.
Okay. Talk to you later. Take care, my friend. Be well.
Thanks, Rick.
All right. Bye, Andrew.